Do you know, Africa did not begin with slavery. Africa did not begin with colonialism. Africa began with life itself. Long before the world had borders and long before people spoke of nations, there was one land where the first humans opened their eyes. That land was Africa. Scientists today call it the cradle of humankind. But our ancestors always knew this truth without laboratories and tests. They understood that the story of humanity started with them. The earliest humans lived in East Africa over 200,000 years ago. They were dark-skinned people because their bodies adapted to the strong sun. Melanin was not a color choice. It was a gift, a protection, a natural shield. These people did not think of themselves as black. They were simply human, living, growing, learning. As time passed, they developed skills that helped them survive. They learned how to make fire, how to shape stones into tools, and how to move in groups for safety. They understood the rhythm of nature, the seasons, the rivers, the night sky. These early Africans were not lost primitive people. They were the first thinkers, the first creators, the first planners. From Africa, people slowly began to move into other parts of the world. They crossed into Arabia, then into Europe, Asia, and much later into the Americas. But no matter how far they traveled, their story always led back home. Every human being today, no matter the skin color, carries a small piece of that African beginning. While these early migrations were happening, Africa continued to grow into something greater. Thousands of years later, powerful kingdoms rose across the continent. In the east, along the Nile Valley, ancient civilizations built cities, temples, and burial grounds that still leave the world amazed today. Nubia and Egypt developed writing systems, mathematics, architecture, and political structures that shaped future civilizations across the world. These societies were organized and advanced. They had doctors, engineers, priests, scholars, and craftsmen. They studied the movement of stars and created calendars. They traded with lands far away. They recorded their beliefs and history on walls, papyrus, and stone. As the East flourished, the West was also rising. In the regions that are now Mali, Ghana, Senegal, and Niger, great empires emerged. The Ghana Empire controlled gold routes. The Mali Empire grew into one of the richest nations in history. Under Mansa Musa, Mali became the home of learning, wealth, and culture. The city of Timbuktu held thousands of books, more than many European cities at the time. These books were written in simple ink, but inside them lived knowledge of science, philosophy, medicine, law, and poetry. Many of these manuscripts still exist today, locked away in boxes because the world is only now discovering their value. Across Central, Southern, and Eastern Africa, other societies developed their own strength. The great Zimbabwe kingdom built stone structures that still stand proudly. The Benin kingdom created bronze works that are considered some of the greatest artworks ever made. The Yoruba people built cities with streets and drainage systems. The Ashanti developed political systems led by strong councils and kings. The Zulu formed warriors and strategies that challenged powerful invaders. Africa was never a single story. It was a world of many nations, languages, cultures, and inventions. Before foreign religions entered the continent, Africans already had deep spiritual beliefs. They believed in a supreme creator, and they honored their ancestors. Their spirituality was not confusion. It was a way of showing respect to life, nature, and the unseen world. They believed every tree, river, mountain, and forest had meaning. They believed that the living and the dead were connected and that life was a circle with no end. But this long period of African greatness met a heavy storm. Foreign powers arrived, first as traders, then as conquerors. They captured people, burned cities, and forced their own systems over African ones. The transatlantic slave trade separated families, villages, and nations. Colonialism later divided the continent into pieces on a map without care for the people living there. Books were burned, names were changed, Languages were erased. History was rewritten to make Africa look weak, empty, and helpless. But even under this pressure, Africa did not break. The people held on to their identity in songs, stories, carvings, and memories. Some of these cultures survived in secret, passed down quietly through generations. Others resurfaced boldly after independence movements swept across the continent. Today, Africa is rising again. Young Africans are telling their own stories, building their own businesses, creating their own technologies, and reconnecting with the deep history that was hidden for so long. Modern African cities are full of energy. Lagos, Nairobi, Kigali, Accra, Johannesburg. Across the world, people of African descent are reclaiming pride in their roots. The origin of Black people is not a story of pain. It is a story of beginning, a story of strength, a story of creation, a story of humanity itself. Africa is not a footnote in world history. Africa is the opening chapter. Africa is the foundation. And as long as we keep telling our own stories, the truth will never go silent again. If this touched you, make sure you subscribe. There is much more history to uncover, and Uncle Sam will bring it all to you.